Hello and welcome to the Football News Zone, the show where we take you through the biggest stories in the beautiful game right now. The international break is over and the domestic leagues in Europe are back, but which stories have been grabbing the headlines? This week we take a look at what Pep Guardiola's contract extension means for Manchester City and the Premier League, why Juan Mata has invested in an MLS franchise, and we explain why Lyon in France have been provisionally relegated to the second tier of French football. All that and a whole lot more is in today's show. Let's dive in. So, Pep Guardiola has signed a contract extension at Manchester City. Before he signed this contract, he was set to leave the club, in theory, at the end of this season. Now, there's obviously a lot of things going on behind the scenes and in the courtrooms regarding Manchester City and what potential punishment they could face. That case is still going on, of course. That will basically go to the end of the year, and we'll probably hear some kind of decision really on that maybe around February, March time. It's all a bit kind of unknown really at the moment because it's happening behind closed doors and we don't know what's really been said or what's happening, but the case is going as expected. But yeah, interesting one for Guardiola to sign on at the moment. They're not going through the best time at the moment. Manchester City, 4 losses in a row in all competitions at the moment. They'll be looking to get back to winning ways, of course, after this international break. I'm sure this will give the players a real boost because now it's like, well, you know, Guardiola's committed to at least another year. I've heard there's apparently going to be some kind of option on there. I don't know whether that's an option for the club or an option for Pep Guardiola, but for an additional year after that as well, which would keep him there until the end of the 2027 season. But he is currently contracted to stay there until the end of 26, which, yeah, that'll make 10 years, I think, you know, which is really something. 10 years to be at one club. He didn't spend that long, relatively, as manager of Barcelona and Bayern Munich. I think he was at Bayern Munich for 3 years and at Barcelona as the first team manager for 4-5 seasons. It wasn't that long. So yeah, he's had a really long time at Man City. He obviously feels confident, relatively confident at least, in that the club, maybe if they'll get some kind of punishment from the court, it'll just be for the avoidance, the delay tactics they've done, rather than anything more sinister. I mean, people talk about them getting relegated and stuff like that, massive points deduction, things like that. I'll be surprised. I'll be really surprised if they do something like that. That'd be unheard of in English football. Not unheard of in football. We've seen things like that happen before. Look at Lyon in France right now. They're provisionally relegated to Ligue 2. Juventus were, of course, forcibly relegated to Serie B when they had the Calciopoli scandal as well. So it's not unheard of, but I think it's pretty unlikely, to be honest. But yeah, he obviously has had some kind of reassurances from the club, like you know, this court, because they'll know what's going on with the court case, obviously, and they presumably are confident that they will get off without any serious punishment in terms of something like a relegation or something like that. So obviously he feels confident to sign with a club for another season, and yeah, it's great news for Manchester City. It's terrible news for everybody else in English football and European football for that matter as well. Manchester City are going to continue to be one of the dominant forces in Europe and one of the dominant forces in England. Can they overturn that deficit to Liverpool in the remainder of the season? You bet they can. Will they? I don't know. We'll have to see. I just hope it's going to be... I'm hoping for at least a 2-horse race between Man City and Liverpool, and I'm hoping Arsenal can get their act together as well. I just want an entertaining season. If I'm being honest, I don't want Man City to win the league just because it's kind of boring, the same team winning all the league all the time. I would say that if Liverpool were winning it. I was saying that when Man United were winning it all the time back in the day. You know, you want to see someone different in the end of the day, but this very much seems like it's, you know, a bit of a gambit, a bit of a confidence booster to try and get something into the players, to get them playing for the manager and for the club, because they just seem to be kind of petering out a little bit before this international break. But yeah, what do you think about this, guys? Man City fans, of course, you're going to be delighted with this, I'm sure. What do you think about Guardiola sticking around in English football for at least basically the rest of this season and next season and possibly more seasons as well? And yeah, do you think Man City are confident of not getting punished, basically, or not getting a meaningful punishment anyway? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Something I didn't really expect to be talking about here on the footballchronicle.com was Juan Mata. I've not heard anything from him for quite some time. He's been playing in the A-League after he left Manchester United a couple seasons ago, and he's just been announced as someone who is going to be a partner, as they've put it, well, a club partner technically, at San Diego FC. Now you might be wondering, who are they? Well, They are going to be the latest franchise expansion team in 2025 in Major League Soccer over in the United States. So yeah, it's cool, really. I mean, we've seen a few players become part owners of football club. Kylian Mbappe is a part owner of, I think it's Caen over in France. Didier Drogba, he was a part owner and player of a team in America. I think it was Phoenix. I want to say it was Phoenix. I could be wrong with that, but we are seeing now footballers, particularly when they are getting close to retiring, you know, they are going to go out and join the world of business, really, and join the world of football business as well. And it's a cool move at the end of the day. This could potentially mean that maybe he goes and plays for them. I mean, like I said, he's over in the A-League right now. I don't follow the A-League really in Australia. I don't know how well he's doing as a player. I think he's like 35, 36 now, Juan Mata. So you never know. He could make an actual appearance for him. I was surprised we didn't make an appearance for them like in a friendly or something like that, you know. But yeah, exciting times for them. Getting a big name on board. That's what you kind of need, really. You need that star power in America. And if they can't get it with a player, then they can get it with a part owner who is also a player as well. So yeah, just a relatively quick one there for you guys. If you're wondering why he's doing it, it's, well, you know, the brands in the MLS are really huge. Now the value of these clubs is massive, partly because they can't be relegated. There's no relegation and promotion in American soccer, so it's, you know, it's a closed shop effectively, and that shop is ever expanding as well. So there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money in MLS. People really, I mean, they're not like the richest clubs in the world by any means. They're not as big as like the big European clubs. But, you know, if you take it as the value of the club, they are hugely valuable because they can't be relegated. They have guaranteed income. So that helps their market capital as well. And if San Diego FC is a success, if they, you know, do really well in the MLS, then his investment, his value, his stake in that club will, of course, increase as well. So just a relatively quick one for you guys. Very exciting times, really, for MLS. And got the playoffs going on right now. Crazy stuff in the playoffs, really. But yeah, just what you love to see, to be honest. So yeah, good news. Really nice guy is Juan Mata. I heard nothing but nice things about him when he was at Manchester United. What a nice guy he is, always making time for the fans as well. I'm sure he'll do the same thing for the San Diego fans as well when he becomes a member of the board, basically. There, something incredible happened last night in European football. And no, I'm not referring to Scotland actually managing to win a game for once. No, I'm talking about San Marino. Yes, the same San Marino that is the so-called worst national team in the world. Well, they're not anymore. They are not anymore, because they managed to get another victory in the Nations League. The UEFA Nations League D, the D League, basically, the bottom tier of the Nations League. They managed to get another victory, and with that as well, they have been promoted. San Marino have won their group in the Nations League. I'm so happy for them. Now, I brought you a story a while ago when San Marino actually managed to get their first ever competitive victory. Now, they've been around for a long time, have San Marino. You know, they've been competing in European competitions since the 90s. I know that because they were the team that actually stopped England from qualifying for the World Cup in '94, which, yeah, that was a pretty dark day for English football. But yeah, San Marino they've improved. They've got a hell of a lot better because they managed to get a win against Liechtenstein, their first ever competitive victory. Now, they had victories before against Liechtenstein as well, actually, but that was just a friendly game. You know, there was nothing on the line with this. But this, though, this is big. This is big. Like, the Nations League is technically a competitive competition, you know, despite what most of the England team, well, most of the normal England team anyway, would have you believe. It is a competitive competition, and it does mean a lot for the lower down teams, for sure. I mean, it gives them an opportunity to, you know, save some kind of face, actually get a win for once, you know. And San Marino were in the bottom tier, League D. They were in a group with Gibraltar and Liechtenstein, and they've managed to do the double of Liechtenstein. And it wasn't an easy task for them. They already knew they already knew what they had to do. This was the last game in the D League because there's only 3 teams in there, so each team plays each other twice, home and away. They'd already played Gibraltar home and away, and they'd already played against Liechtenstein at home. So they only had Liechtenstein away. Gibraltar had played all its games as well, so they knew the only way to go up directly to win the group would be to win. They had to win. Now, this wouldn't be an easy task. San Marino had never won away from home before. I don't think they've won in any game away from home, even a friendly game. Certainly not a competitive game. And, you know, it seemed as though the ship might be sinking. Aaron Selle with a goal 40 minutes in for Liechtenstein. The San Marinese, I don't know how many travelled there. Probably not many, admittedly. But whoever was at this game, you know, they would have been disappointed if they were a San Marino fan heading into half time. But then Lorenzo Lazzari, out of the blocks, out of the traps, as fast as possible. A goal in less than 60 seconds played in the second half. 1-1, game on. Nicola Nani with a penalty, 66 minutes in. San Marino take the lead. San Marino had never scored two goals in a away fixture before this, but they went one better. Andro Golanucci, 15 minutes from time, 3-1 to San Marino. San Marino having never scored 3 goals in any game. Competitive, home, away, neutral, doesn't matter. They've never done it before. And here they are. The heroes of San Marino are into the Nations League Group C. Next Nations League cycle, they could be playing against giants like the Faroe Islands, Belarus, Cyprus, Kosovo. There's some big games in here. Kazakhstan, they're a huge country, greatest nation in the world apparently. So, you know, in all seriousness, this is honestly incredible for them. It really is. I'm so happy for them. And like I said, when San Marino won their game against Liechtenstein, you know, earlier on in the Nations League, you know, the Nations League experiment, criticize it all you want, meaningless or blah blah blah, whatever, right? You know, it is what it is. But that you might have that for the top teams, it's just another thing to play. But for the bottom teams, for the lower teams, the micro nations like San Marino. San Marino is a country, for you guys that don't know, that's within Italy. It's like got 30,000 people, if that. It is tiny. It's smaller than the city of Bologna, which is nearby. You know, to make it up into League C for them is a huge deal. And for me, the Nations League experiment has already succeeded. It has allowed the smallest, the so-called worst team in the world to not only win a couple of games, but get promoted to League C. They will no longer be in the bottom tier of the Nations League next cycle, and I am so happy for them. Grazie tutti. Well done, guys. Honestly, fantastic for you. I just wanted to bring that story to you because there's been a lot of depressing stories in football this last few weeks or so. There's been this international break. So let's end on something happy. Let's end on a high. San Marino up to League C. Can't wait to see who they get drawn against. I hope they don't get beat too bad. But imagine if they managed to get a result against one of these teams. You know, it's not out of the question. Montenegro, Azerbaijan are going down to the D League. They're too bad even for that. You know, there'll be above teams like that though. Those are much bigger nations with much more larger pools of players to pick from, you know. So it is no mean feat at all. Fair play to them. Well done. Go and enjoy some Peronis or some Morettis or whatever you guys are drinking over there in Italy. Enjoy it, because this is the greatest achievement in the history of San Marino football. Maybe San Marino sport as well. I'm not too clued up on how San Marino do at the Olympics and stuff, but my guess would be not very good because they're such a small country, but who knows? But yeah. So, Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Rodrigo Bentancur has been given a 7-match ban by the Football Association in England over a racial slur that he used during, I believe it was a TV interview that he did this on, and this is something that's been bubbling away for some time. It happened quite a while ago, I believe, when he said this. Unfortunately, he apologised for it. He apologised to Son for it, but now he's been given a 7-match ban. So I'm just going to go into what was actually said by him, the reasoning for why he thinks he didn't do any wrong, I believe, and also for the reasoning for why the FA has given him this punishment, whether I think it's the right decision by the English FA to do this. So shout out to the BBC Sport for covering this. Full article by Mandeep Sangera here. So, Tottenham midfielder Rodrigo Bentancur has been given a 7-match domestic ban by the Football Association for using a racial slur about teammate Song Heung-min. Bentancur, who was also fined £100,000 in order to take part in a mandatory face-to-face education program, was charged by the FA in September after comments made while appearing on TV in his home country of Uruguay in June. Rodrigo Bentancur denied this charge, but the Independent Regulatory Commission found it to be a proven and imposed this sanction following a hearing, the FA statement said. The 27-year-old will not return to domestic action until the 26th of December, missing Premier League matches against Manchester City, Liverpool and Chelsea, among others, plus Spurs League Cup quarter-final against Manchester United. Of course, this is a ban for all domestic competitions, so I believe he will still be able to take part in the Europa League, as that is a UEFA competition. as it just says literally in the next line there. Bentancur has played 15 times for Tottenham this season and scored his first goal of the campaign in a defeat to Ipswich on the 11th of November. The incident happened in his own time, and so as he plays in England, fell under the jurisdiction of the FA, unlike the situation involving Chelsea midfielder Enzo Fernandez, where at that time he was, of course, on duty for Argentina. In fact, he was celebrating for Argentina after won the Copa America. Already done a video about that at the time. That was a big scandal in itself, for sure. Fernandez was on international duty when he posted the video, which the French Football Federation said included an alleged racist and discriminatory chant. It did include, it wasn't alleged, it was definitely that, of Argentina celebrating winning the Copa America, and is being investigated by world governing body FIFA. It's still being investigated. That was like 3-4 months ago. Wow. It's taken a while. FIFA taking its time. What did Bentancur say? This is pretty bad, by the way. This is the thing for me where I'm just like, you know what? You can't say this. You really can't, and you should know better. Simple as that. But I'll read out what he said. When charging the Uruguay international, the FA said it was an alleged breach of FA Rule E3 for misconduct in relation to a media interview. The FA said that they consulted an aggravated breach, as it is included a reference to whether it expresses or implied to nationality and or race and or ethnic origin. In the media interview in question, when asked by a presenter for a Tottenham shirt, Bentancur replied, "Sonny's? It could be Sonny's cousin too. They all look the same." Which is racist. Yeah. He later apologised on social media and said that his comments were a very bad joke. Yeah. A racist joke. Bentancur also said sorry to South Korea forward Son, who he said not mean to ever intentionally say something offensive. Well, you did, mate, didn't you? So, what was Bentancur's defence, and what did the panel say? Bentancur's offence carried a punishment of 6 to 12 match ban, and in its written reasons, the FA said that the player asked for the matter to be dealt with on the basis of written submissions only. A response to the charge sent to Tottenham on behalf of Bentancur said Rodrigo's reply was sarcastic and a gentle rebuke of the journalist calling Sonny the Korean. Two wrongs do not make a right, and calling Heung-min Son the Korean, being the only Korean player for Tottenham, although there is one joining in January. They got a winger coming from I can't remember the name of the side now. It might literally be FC Seoul. Could be wrong on that one, but two wrongs don't make a right on these kind of things. And calling him the Korean isn't amazing, but he is the Korean player for Tottenham, so maybe lost in translation a bit. That's not so bad. But saying that they all look the same, that is a racist joke that has been going on for probably centuries at this point, and isn't even true. Koreans do look different because, they're people, so I don't know why this is still a joke, to be honest, but here we go. Rodrigo does not believe that all Koreans look more or less the same. The context of the exchange clearly shows Rodrigo is being sarcastic. Rodrigo was challenging the journalist in his description of his end club teammate. It was also submitted that Bentancur's apologies for his comments was not what he said, but for the inadequate reporting on the interview, which excluded the presenter's references to Son as the Korean, but he's still saying something racist, even if he did say that before. If they both said something racist, then they both should be punished. It's kind of how it works. It doesn't really have anything to do with that guy, that journalist or whatever. If he did say something bad, then he should get punished by whatever organisation he was working for. And with Bentancur, obviously, it comes under the jurisdiction of the FA because he's a Tottenham player who played in England. They found that the apologies made by him appear to show that he accepted he had caused offence, and a statement from Spurs in response to his apologies appears to have accepted that the player's remarks had been objectively insulting and are abusive and discriminatory. The panel said that they could not accept the submission of Bentancur as it flies in the face of evidence and does not sit within the context or form of the player's apologies or the response from Tottenham Hotspur or Son Heung-min. In determining the sanction, the Independent Regulatory Commission took into account Bentancur had no previous offences, did not mean to cause offence, and, despite the submission made on his behalf before us which tended to undermine the force of that early apology, we consider his remorse was and is genuine. it added, in all the circumstances, we consider that in terms of culpability and consequences, this breach falls towards the lower end of the guideline range, but not the lowest point. Anti-discrimination charity Kick It Out said they welcomed the decision to hold Bentancur accountable for using a racial slur. They said, and I quote, "A significant number of reports were made to Kick It Out regarding the incidents at the time, highlighting how abuse directed at players from East and Southeastern Asian backgrounds not only impacts the individual involved, but also affects fans in the wider community. It's important we all recognise and report this type of discrimination when it appears." So, I mean, I hope that explains it all, guys. I mean, that's pretty much all laid out there. I feel like that's an appropriate punishment given their own guidelines. I mean, instead of it being a 6-match ban, which is the minimum, they've gone with a 7. It's slightly above, but it's not towards the higher end. I feel like that's a fair punishment. You know, the fine is a lot of money. You know, £100,000 is a lot of money. I don't know what Bentancur's on, probably less than that a week. And I know people will be like, "Oh, that's less than a week's wages. That's not much." You'd miss a week's wages. If you missed a week's wages, that's a quarter of your monthly income. You'd miss it. And I'm not even going to give a sob story with this. I'm not saying that always are done by that. I think it's fair. I think a punishment in both a sporting and financial sense is good. You know, it shows him that it's kind of hitting from both sides with that as well. And I think as well, him having to do that educational course is a good thing as well, because, you know, there aren't many people of colour at all from Uruguay, I don't believe. You get a few, but in the national team anyway, it's not quite like Argentina where it's like 100% white, but there's definitely not many people from East Asian backgrounds in Uruguay. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I don't think there are. I think the only part of South America that has a significant East Asian community is Brazil. It has the biggest population of Japanese people, ethnic Japanese people outside of Japan. That's a fact for you there if you didn't know that. But yeah, I don't think that Uruguay has that. So again, it could just be a bit of ignorance on his side, really. You know, that might well be a joke that he heard a lot growing up, because there's nobody in Uruguay to kind of say, or not many people in Uruguay to say, "Hey, that's racist," you know? I got South Korean friends, I got East Asian friends, why are you saying that? So I think the educational thing is a good thing, and, you know, I'm sure he'll learn his lesson from this, and it does seem like he's remorseful over it, which I'm sure even cynics would say, well, of course he would be, but I think he is. I think he probably thinks he's an absolute idiot for saying what he did, because yeah, he basically is. And I think this punishment is fair. But yeah, that's the whole thing explained. Basically, Bentancur was a very naughty boy. He said something racist on TV, and now he's been punished for it. And that's kind of the end of it, really. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Hopefully he's learned his lessons. So yeah, for much more content on the world of football, do keep it tuned here to thefootballchronicle.com, guys. Hopefully a little less like this, and hopefully a little bit more about, you know, the game we actually love, rather than the controversies off the field. But it seems like there's plenty of those right now. Ajax and Hapoel Tel Aviv, or Maccabi Tel Aviv, whichever the Tel Aviv sides it was. Obviously David Coote as well. And then not that long ago, of course, the Fernandez incident as well. There's been plenty of off-field dramas this season, and we're not even to Christmas time yet. So I don't think this is the end we've heard of this. There's going to be some other things happening, probably with Coote, but I hope that's the end of it with him. Check out a video about that if you've not already. So you may have seen this weekend there was an announcement regarding Olympique Lyon in France, one of the biggest clubs in France, a club that has won, 7 titles on the bounce in the 2000s, you know, before PSG came around with their many billions from the Qatari state. You know, Lyon were one of the biggest forces in French football. Obviously, they've not been as successful in recent times, last season in particular. At the start of the season, you know, they were looking like they could be relegated to Ligue 2, the second tier of French football. Now, unfortunately, this season it was announced that they may well get relegated to Ligue 2, and that is not because of their performance in the league. They're up in like 5th place, I think, something like that. They're having a good season, relatively, especially compared to last season. It shows real progress on their part, but unfortunately, they have been handed a provisional relegation to Ligue 2 for next season. Now, you might be wondering why. Why is this? Well, it's basically down to financial troubles, financial mismanagement. The club posted losses and have a financial debt of over €500 million, not €500,000, €500 million. €505 million in debt they are currently in, which is a massive amount. Now, for those that don't know, French football and its financial authorities, specifically in this case the DNCG, the National Directorate of Management Control over in France, those guys are very strict when it comes to the financial control they have over French clubs. And this is for all of them. They all have to basically prove they've got a financial plan, a business plan effectively, to show that, look, we are financially stable, this is how much we're going to spend, this is how much our losses are going to be, we will make this much profit. And they have to do that all the time for the French authorities. Now, to put that in perspective, in England, you only have to do that kind of thing if you are in administration, if you are in big financial troubles. You have to do something like that. Because unfortunately, that does happen in England. Clubs do go into a lot of financial problems, and France have a lot tighter grip basically on that sort of thing, and they don't allow for it to happen. And it's just a preemptive, effectively. It's to try and stop clubs going into administration, which is what they've done with this, because they've looked at it and just said, look, Lyon, you guys are in trouble. This amount of money is a lot, and we're going to provisionally relegate you as punishment for your financial misconduct, effectively. And on top of that as well, you've also got to factor in the fact that they now have a transfer ban for January. They can't bring any new signings in. And effectively as well, reportedly, the entire Lyon squad is up for sale in January, just to raise funds to try and survive. And this is a club with some big players, in fairness. I mean, they've got Wilfried Zaha, albeit on loan from Galatasaray, so they can't actually sell him. Alexandre Lacazette is doing incredibly well over there. Saïd Benrahma. Ainsley Maitland-Niles is there as well. So a guy that used to play for Arsenal back in the day, if you remember him. Nemanja Matic is there. There's some big names in here, Maxence Kakare. There's some big players, and Tolisso as well, and not forget about him. There's some really big players there, so they definitely can raise some funds by selling the players. But then it's like, what is it going to be like? What's the squad actually going to be like for the second half of the season, And it's not looking great. It's not looking great with that. If you're wondering about the owners of the club, it is John Textor, who also owns shares in Crystal Palace, although I don't believe he's not the main owner. I think he's a owner, but not the biggest owner. And he also owns the Brazilian club Botafogo as well. And Botafogo have been a real crazy case in recent times, even by Brazilian standards. They were miles clear in the league not too long ago, the Serie A over in Brazil, and then ended up bottling it magnificently with something that's even Spurs fans are being embarrassed about. So yeah, it's not looking great for Lyon. The long and short of it is, guys, basically, is that they're in a lot of debt. To preempt any kind of administration coming in, the DNCG in France have put them under a transfer embargo, and they've made clear that if you don't improve your financial situation by the end of this season, then you are going to be relegated to Ligue 2, the second tier, for next season. So watch this space. We will bring you any kind of news and updates about this, as it comes. But just one more thing to mention as well. Another big reason for this, and Lyon will not be the only one. There will be more. I mean, look at what happened to Bordeaux. They're in the fourth tier of French football now. It's not all to do, but a big reason behind it is because of the TV deal in France, which was an absolute disaster. And they ended up actually accepting the deal in the end for less money than what they were on before. The deal that they had in their pocket, I can't remember why exactly it soured and it didn't happen, but there were some really, really big mistakes put in there. And eventually the deal did come through. They did get one, but it was nowhere near as much as what they were hoping. So a lot of clubs in France, because of that, they all budgeted for that bigger TV deal. But the bigger TV deal didn't come. It was actually smaller. So it's a real problem now in French football. This is the tip of the iceberg, as they say. Well, Bordeaux was the tip. This is the second domino to fall, as it were. There will be more. Mark my words, there will be more. And I really hate to say it, but French football right now, unfortunately, is in a bit of a crisis. There is no other way of putting it, and Lyon are in a crisis right now. So yeah, for much more news on the world of football, hopefully a bit more uplifting than this, do keep it tuned here to thefootballchronicle.com. And yeah, we'll see you soon for some more football content here on the channel, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well, and we'll see you very soon, guys. Have a good one.